this scary situation on a Delta flight out of the western United States. A former co-pilot is being accused of pulling a gun and then threatening to shoot the captain mid-flight.
This all happened in August of last year. Court documents revealed Jonathan Dunn had threatened the captain with being shot multiple times and if he decided to divert the plane because a passenger was having a medical emergency.
Dunn was taking advantage of the Transportation Safety Administration's Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, allowing airline pilots to be armed in the cockpit, which is why he had that gun in the first place. So let's bring in Chief Transportation Correspondent Mackay Beeler into this conversation.
And Mackay, can you explain exactly what this program is that the TSA has where you can bring a gun in the cockpit?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of security behind the scenes passengers don't even know about. So the FFDO, Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, was born after 9/11. It's our last defense to get to the cockpit. So the TSA, Homeland Security and TSA, they have given certain pilots the privilege of being law enforcement officers on the flight deck. It's a volunteer program. They have to be currently employed by an airline or a cargo company. They have to be a U.S. citizen, have to have a current medical certificate, an airman pilot certificate. And what happens is they go through certain training. They have to be vetted, of course. We have to make sure psychologically they are up for this task physically. They go through training out in New Mexico for about 8 days. They have firearms training, psychological evaluations, simulator training, and basically they are assigned a weapon. And while they are on that flight deck, they can use deadly force. So God forbid somebody breaches the cockpit. We know we've got that door that's pretty darn sturdy. We're also getting secondary barriers. But in the unlikely event they get in, this flight deck officer has a weapon and they can use it for deadly reasons if needed.
And obviously this is not that situation where this person pulled out that gun. But so do you think this would set a precedent of maybe re-examining what goes into this program? Because it's been around since, you know, as you mentioned, 9/11, right? So it's not new, but is there any reevaluating that needs to happen here?
I think we need to look at mental health because we saw this with the Alaska pilot a couple of weeks ago who was on allegedly magic mushrooms, who allegedly tried to shut the engines down in flight. So pilots are very well qualified and they are screened, but anybody perhaps can have an issue. So yeah, this is because a pilot could kill everybody at any moment. You don't need a weapon.
Well, yeah.
But it's a very, very good question. I think this will change the way we look at things. We don't know the whole story.
Yeah,
so he's going to be indicted, I think, next week, or arraigned, I should say.
And you mentioned the mental health evaluation. He had gone through that, but then this would trigger something about, because he obviously got triggered about not wanting to divert somewhere.
Yes, and the interesting thing is they do get recertified twice a year. So I do have a friend who is a pilot. He is part of this FFDO program. He said it was the best training he's ever been through. And the weapon that they have, nobody else can unlock it but the pilot.
Interesting.
Him or herself. That's all he told me. So very secretive, but effective.
Yeah, a very scary situation, but thank you for giving us insight into the background on that.